What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Limited Resources. This episode number 688. My name is Marshall. I'm one of your Limited Resources, and joining me just 3 feet away in the hotel room here in Philadelphia, it's Luis Scott-Vargas. Luis, we're back, baby. We're at the PT recording the show before you go play tomorrow.
Yeah, it's like it's 2017 all over again. It's been a while since we got to do a live show, and really glad to get that together here.
Yeah, we walked over, got some Arnold Palmers.
I can hear the clink of the ice in real time.
Yeah, you can actually see it, and we're sitting down. So let's talk about our sponsors first, and then we'll get an update from you as far as the PT stuff goes. And then today we're going to dive into our format overview for Phyrexia.
Lot to talk about there.
Yeah, we've got a lot. So first up, TCG Player and Channel Fireball have teamed up to create a subscription that every Magic player needs. You get exclusive CFB Pro content and free shipping and tracking on direct by TCG Player orders. And you get bonus bucks and awesome promos at tcgplayer.com for just $6.99 a month. There's a link in the show notes for that if you're interested in it. I mean, frankly, just for the CFB Pro content, it's worth it, but you get a bunch of extra cool stuff, especially if you buy from TCG Player Direct, because that free shipping and tracking adds up pretty quick if you're building a bunch of decks and stuff. Also, if you do want to buy from TCG Player, you can go to their marketplace. They have the best marketplace around. You're going to find whatever you need there, competitive pricing. You can compare pricing, you can compare shipping times, condition, whatever it is that you feel is the most important, you can prioritize via the TCG Player marketplace. And if you do want to go there, there's a link in the show notes that takes you directly to that as well. It's an affiliate link, meaning that it lets them know that we're the ones that sent you over there and it helps support the show. So we do appreciate it if you use that as well. Thank you to TCG Player, and Channel Fireball for their support of the show. The show is also brought to you by you via the Patreon. It's patreon.com/limited resources if you are interested. Let me see if I've got a Patreon question of the week here, Luis. I actually just refreshed the thread, and sometimes people jump right in. Yeah, they did. One person said, "Is this a Patreon question of the week?"
I guess the answer to that is yes.
Yeah, we'll try a different one. We'll just jump. I'm just going to go with the next one. This is from Jake. He says, "Hey, Marshall and Luis, with the return of the PT, I've been wondering if Marshall's feelings about trying to qualify have changed at all. I know it's a perennial question, but with fewer coverage opportunities under the new system, does that make it more or less likely that we see Marshall sitting down to draft day one at the PT anytime soon?" Wow, I never actually thought about that.
My guess is that you are probably not going to expend any effort doing that.
It's interesting because I think that if I didn't have anything else going on, then it would, because before I really had to make the choice, right? It was like, do I want to do coverage or do I want to try to play? And I very much wanted to do coverage. It made a lot more sense for me, and so that's where I put the eggs. But as it turns out, what Jake says is true. I'm really only doing 4 coverage events a year now. It's not like an every other weekend thing like it was. So I could definitely dedicate some time to it. I think the thing that pops up for me now, though, is that my time is split between Magic stuff and the Watch channel, know? And the Watch YouTube channel, it's, the videos are very labor intensive, and I've got a couple of other projects going around the YouTube channel as well. And those are kind of the priority. And even though I obviously get to play Magic a bunch and stuff, the push to try to qualify.
Very different animal.
Yeah, it takes a lot, right? I mean, I'd have to play a bunch of live events, which are pretty time consuming. I could try for some arena stuff or whatever. It's interesting, though. I hadn't considered it. So that probably answers the question. Like if I wasn't thinking, all right, now I finally get to qualify, but man, I would absolutely love to play a PT. Like, you got me thinking, Jake. I might actually try to look for like, I'm not going to go like whole hog, but maybe try to find a couple of reasonable lanes to push for, because I would love that. I just want that experience, because I've really enjoyed. I wrote an article this week for Wizards, and I kind of outlined the feeling in the room before the draft starts, and it's really an electric feeling, and I'd love to be on the other side of it.
So you copied my sign off.
You were talking about something else, but there were some similarities. Anyway, thanks for the question, Jake. That you got me thinking now. I guess we should do a crack-a-pack. Man, We really should have got Jeff over here. Like,
Yeah,
we're just completely
I think it would have been
lost.
worth flying him in for this.
Yeah, just so I don't have to figure out how to do a crack a pack, because I don't have any packs on me. Draft? I found a website. I think this is the one that he uses. All right, here we go. I've cracked a pack. Crunch, crackle. First card out is Molten Rebuke. That's the 4 and a red. You can choose one. Or it's interesting, you can choose both. You can destroy an equipment, or you can do 5 damage to a creature or planeswalker.
I think this is the most playable 5-mana sorcery deal 5 that we've seen in years. Like, I actually want one of these in all my red decks.
Okay, so there you go.
Not looking to first pick it, but it's a card that I do like having in my deck.
And you occasionally do get that nice 2-for-1 out of it. Titanic Growth is next. Wouldn't be first picking it. Next is Blight Belly Rat. I do like this one. This is the 1 in black, 2/2 toxic 1, and when it dies, you proliferate.
Yeah, this is fine. Any 1 and 2 drop is playable basically in this format. In fact, it's necessary.
Yeah.
But again, I would hope we could do better.
Yeah, my favorite deck so far has been Black-White, like the one that I go to the most. And Blight Belly Rat is a perfectly good 2-drop in there. Meldweb Strider. This is the 4 and a blue 5/5 vehicle with vigilance. Comes in with an oil. You can remove an oil to activate it. It also has crew 3 for when you don't have any oil.
Yeah, I don't mind playing one of these in the blue-white artifact decks because they could use something beefy, but it's obviously not something you need to prioritize.
No, but I will say that one free activation's pretty good. Like making it an actual blocker is like kind of a big deal, because sometimes with vehicles you have to choose. It effectively leaves you with just the one blocker. Mirren Bardiche. This is the 4 and a white. For Mirrodin equipment, it gives a creature +2/+1. So you get a 4/3, and you can equip it for 3 and a white.
Not a huge fan of this one. It's just a little bit on the slow side.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it can be good, and one of the things that I think is very cool about this set and could have really played out in a nice fashion is the fact that there's a lot of overlap where the red-white equipment deck also has equipment cards that go in the blue-white artifact deck, like Mirren Bardiche. You get to play this, trigger your artifact stuff, and then move it to like your Malkator's Watch or your little flyers or whatever. It just turns out this is a little too slow, and as much as the overlap is with a lot of different synergies here, it's not a card I'm anticipating playing much of.
Yeah, I mean, if it costs 5 mana, it really has to pull its weight.
Yeah.
Like, Eye of Malkator. This card has a lot of potential. It's the 2 and a blue artifact, and when it ETBs, you scry 2. When another artifact ETBs on your side, it becomes a 4/4. So end of turn.
This is a good card, and when you're in the blue-white artifact decks, you do want basically as many of these as you can get.
Yeah.
I just don't think you're supposed to go into that deck unless you have a real signal to do so.
Yeah.
So
it's so tough because that deck can win, and this can be a piece of it. But boy, I think in a lot of ways about the format being in like the first 3 turns, and I'm hoping to do something on all of those turns, but I kind of feel required to do something on 2 of those turns that affects the board. And if the 3, which is the most board affecting of those possibilities, is this, I don't feel good. Like, I just feel like I'm going to get ran over.
I mean, that's, I think, the biggest weakness with the blue-white deck is it just has no game on defense at all.
Right.
So if you're ever on the back foot, all your cards are terrible.
Right. And this one it compounds that. Now this next one, Crawling Chorus. I love this card, Luis. I picked this thing.
This might be the best white combat.
Super high. Yeah. It's white 1/1. It has toxic 1, and when it dies, it becomes a mite.
I mean, this card, it just, when they play, the 2 mana 3/1, the Barbed Fist or whatever, Barbed Spike Fist or something like that.
Bladed. Oh man, I remember this.
You're
one
the one who's on the
night.
hook for all the names for all the names this weekend. I'm not. But whenever they play like a 2 mana 3/1 and you play this card, it just feels so good.
Yeah.
Also, sometimes you're on the play, you play this and you get like 1 or 2 hits in before they can get a defense up, which in the black-white deck especially gets them to that critical 3rd poison. Great card. This is the card I'd be picking right now.
Me too. It's also, I found, particularly in black-white where there's multiple combat tricks available, but this is a card that is a magnet to get blocked, right?
Yeah.
And, a well-timed combat trick can really be good. Hey, Branch Blight Stalker.
There we go.
Is our next card. I guess I didn't have to look far. This is a 1 and a green 3/1 toxic 2. Totally fine card.
I like it in green-white. I'll play it in red-green because it's a 2 mana 3/1. If you don't have enough 2-drops, you just need to play it. And, black-green is a different issue and blue-green doesn't exist. So,
Right.
But yeah, I'd still take the Crawling Chorus.
All right, here's some business. Volt Charge.
So I would take Volt Charge over Crawling Chorus. Volt Charge is the 2 and a red, deal 3, proliferate. Volt Charge is significantly worse than Hex Gold Slash. Like, it's not close.
Is a lot
I would
worse.
probably take my third Hex Gold Slash over my first Volt Charge. Like,
It's insane.
Which is the crazy part. It's just the format's so fast, and the Slash kills 4 mana green creatures,
Right.
Because of the toxic thing.
Yeah, the 2 GG 4/4, you just go 1 mana.
But
It's
red is so much the best color that I would rather start red than start white.
Okay, I have red and white like really close, like color
Well,
wise.
we'll get into it once we get into the archetypes, but I think there's a lot of archetype specific stuff that really informs the way you go here.
Okay, next is Duress, which is proven unplayable in the format.
I sided in against someone who had the Blue Sun's Twilight and Black Sun's Twilight.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And so I was like, okay, yeah, their deck is full of bangers.
It's weird, I kind of thought that, before playing the format, that there might be a niche for Duress because it can hit equipment, which are creatures in many times, and then there's even a few vehicles, which are also, because of course, if your Duress can hit a creature sometimes, like its value goes up so much higher, but it's just too slow. You need to be doing something that affects the board. Uncommons, Resistance Reunited. This is the 1 and a white instant target creature gets +2/+2 in the turn, and then it says equipped creatures you control gain indestructible until the turn. That part that's been kind of trinket text. It doesn't come up that often. The other combat trick has been awesome.
Yeah.
Whatever it's called. Oh, I gotta know these names. I do.
It's like Complete Devotion or
Yeah,
something
it is
like
Complete
that.
Devotion. That's it. That one's been super sweet.
I like
even
that one
though
a lot
that's a
more,
common. Yeah, this one's an uncommon and somehow worse.
Well, also the equipment deck, I think, doesn't use combat tricks as well as the poison deck anyway.
Right. Exactly. Because like I said, your Crawling Chorus, they will block it, and then you get a 2-for-1. Next is Nahiri Sacrifice. This is the 1 and a red sorcery. As an additional cost to cast it, you sack an artifact or a creature with mana value X, and then you get to do X damage divided as you want among target creatures.
Yeah, I remember listening to the set review
BK
you and BK did.
I was skeptical, but he thought it was great. He kind of talked me into it, though.
Yeah, you were right, actually.
Yeah.
I will admit that when I listened to it, I was like, this card actually could be good. Turns out that sacking something as a cost just puts this in the realm of innate card disadvantage, or at least parity, even when you kill 2 things.
If you get a 2-for-2, you're like, yes.
And it's slow, like you have to play something expensive first. Like, there are times when this card can be fantastic, but generally I would not play this. I would side it in most likely against like a low toughness, like toxic deck.
Yeah.
But if you have this in your deck and you play against red green, you're pretty unhappy. You're just going to get 2-for-1. Whereas against the toxic deck, sometimes you can do like a 3-for-2. You kill 3 of their guys.
And if they're white toxic, they'll play Planar Disruption or whatever, and you can kind of get them. I like this next card. It's Viral Spawning. This is the 2 and a green sorcery. You get a 3/3 toxic one, and then it does have flashback, but you have to be corrupted. You have to have them corrupted to turn it on. I think it's okay.
I wonder if it's better than Volt Charge. That's actually kind of close, I think.
Yeah, that is actually. I would take Volt Charge, I think.
I would also take Volt Charge, but I've been impressed with the spawning because it's a 3-mana 3/3 is just playable in this format. It just has random upside on the back end.
Definitely. Our rare is Malcator Purity Overseer. This is the 1 blue-white 1/1, but it comes with a 3/3 Phyrexian Golem. And then at the beginning of your end step, if you ever manage to get 3 artifacts to ETB that turn, you get another Golem.
I've done it before, and I had my opponent do it once.
Yeah, it does happen. Like if you plan out accordingly, you could make it. But really, you're playing it for the 3/3 plus a 1/1, which is fine.
I just don't think you're supposed to take a blue-white gold card over a Volt Charge.
I don't think so either. I would take Crawling Chorus over it. I would take Volt Charge all day over it. I would take Viral Spawning over Malcator.
It's probably 4th, though.
Yeah, and then it's next. Good job, Malcator. Yeah, so out of this pack, I would, like, if I were drafting the PT, I would pull a Crawling Chorus and Volt Charge to the front. And I would probably have Viral Spawning kind of floating there, but I probably wouldn't actually take it.
I mean,
and
in a shocking twist, the three cards we're looking at are red, green, and white.
Yeah, and that is a theme that we're going to talk about here. I think I would take Volt Charge, though.
Yeah, I would go with the Volt Charge as well.
Yeah, let's do another Crack-a-Pack.
First, you have to sign up and click through the ad.
It's asking me if I'd like free packs. Yeah. Okay. Looks like we got a foil Free from Flesh. That's the red instant target creature goes +2/+2, and you put 2 oil counters on it.
I like the card. Mm-hmm. I play it. I almost always play like 2 copies if I have them in red green.
In red green.
And then in red black, I think playing one is okay. And red-white generally don't play it, and red-blue doesn't exist. So
Right. And sadly, that's where it would be the best. It's a non-creature spell that adds oil. It's purpose-built for red-blue, and it's just like not even on the radar.
To be clear, when I say doesn't exist, blue-green and is the worst of the 10 archetypes by far. Red-blue is draftable if you start heavy red and get past the spell Chimera, and then you can kind of go into it. But again, we'll talk about where the colors fit in later, but blue is not in good shape.
It's really bad. Blazing Crescendo. Hey, if you're into red combat tricks, we got you covered here. 1 in a red instant. Target creature gets +3/+1 until end of turn. Exile a top card of your library until the end of your next turn. You may play it.
I like it less than Freed from Flesh, but it's a playable combat trick for sure.
Yeah. Cheap is better. Like, just all the time.
Also, Blazing Crescendo is especially not a good card to play in the first 3 or 4 turns. You kind of want to play this a little later because you don't want to spike a 5-drop and not be able to play it.
That's right. The Hunter Maze is next. This is the green sphere.
The spheres are fine. I do want 1 to 2 in most of my decks.
Yes.
But I don't tend to take them super early.
Yeah, it's weird. I started off, kind of just jamming them. These are typically underrated, right? A lot of people won't take them. And you can get a real advantage. The price is just perfect for them too.
This is a really powerful version of this effect.
It really is.
This is more powerful than cycling, because cycling you have to choose right away.
Yes.
Do I want the land or the card? Mm-hmm. Here you get to play it as a land until lands are dead and then get the card out.
Yeah.
But this is the format that's the worst for it, is that
the absolute
just
worst.
Because of the speed.
It's too fast. So I've started to trim, and I want 1 or 2. But I was playing 3 or 4 before, and I don't do that anymore.
No, you can't do that.
So I think 1 is probably kind of where I want to be, which is a little
If you
sad.
play 2 or 3 of these, it probably means you didn't draft enough 1-drops.
Right, exactly. Because I'm just always looking at this Crawling Chorus and this Combat Trick and this random
you have a 1, 2, 3 in your hand, you just want all basics.
Yes. Bone Picker Scourge is next. This is the 2 in a black 2/2 flyer, and it's corrupted. It gets Death Touch and Lifelink.
Mediocre. You can play it, but it's just not that good.
It's just not that good. When you're playing Toxic, you want your creatures to have Toxic. This is a powerful card if you get corrupted. I mean, it's like a mini Vampire Nighthawk.
So I actually don't really agree with that.
Okay.
In the sense that I think that the all Toxic decks aren't really that great.
Oh, dude, I got to send you some screenshots. I love those decks.
They can come together, but I generally think that when you're drafting these decks, you should just focus on curve and having, combat tricks and removal.
That would mean you would put Bone Picker Scourge in it, right?
Well, I just think it's a little weak for its stat. The stats are a little weak by itself. I do really like the Black-White Corrupted deck, though.
Yeah.
That I like a lot.
I just find that I do get there on, I don't know.
Well, the Toxic guys are pretty good rate. So, Crawling Chorus and the Duelist, the 2/2 first striker. Those are all great. Jawbone Duelist as well, the 1/1 double strike.
Love that
You
one.
put all those cards in your deck and they're fantastic. But I don't think what discounts this is that it's not Toxic. I think it's just that the rate is bad.
Okay. I mean, I guess so. I guess if you're not getting corrupted that often. Plague Nurse. This is the 3 in a green 3/4 Toxic 2.
Oh, yeah. This is exactly the kind of card I do not want in my
yes,
decks.
This is the one that misses.
I think that one of the things you can do to really increase your win percentage is don't play very many 4-drops that get Hex Gold slashed.
Yeah.
That's a way to just lose the game on the spot. You play against red-green. Your turn 4 play is this. Their turn 4 play is like a Contagious Vorak plus kill your guy. Attack you with their 3-drop.
Kill your guy, play a 5. It's so bad. Yeah, and you can just get better stats. The Mantis is much, much better than this.
Yeah.
For example, Gold Warden's Helm. This is the 2 in a white for Mirrodin equipment.
The +0/+1.
The +0/+1.
So they landed in a weird place with all the equipment. It is all playable, but out at common, none of it is good. It's all just okay. Barb Batterfist is the best one probably, just because 2 mana 3/1 is a good place to start.
Yes.
But the +1/-1 equipment is
whatever.
Sometimes you can't even equip it, or it's worse to equip it.
Yeah. At least it's cheap.
I mean, just Gold Warden's Helm and the Bardiche and the Volshock War Splitter. These are they somehow landed as it's their goal is to make them all begrudgingly playable. Where you're because the thing is, these are a 2-for-1, right? So you're these are all a baseline 2-for-1.
Good cards.
But then it's +0/+1, +2/+0, +1/-1. These just equip at kind of clunky rates and not very many stats. So it's I'll put this card in my deck, put it in the artifact deck sometimes, put it in the red-white deck, but it's just really I would not play this in green-white or black-white unless I really had a good reason to.
I never play it. Offer Immortality. Card's actually been pretty good. This is the 1 of black instant. Target creature gets Death Touch and indestructible until the turn.
I actually like this card a lot.
If you're making them block, it's great. Yeah.
Yeah, because the black-white decks could make them block pretty effectively.
Yeah.
And then you also have, every now and then you have something they need to double block, like the 2/2 first striker or the 2/4 menace.
Oh, yeah.
And then you just really get them.
Totally. It has a lot of upside, and it comes up. There's almost never the spot where you're just holding it in your hand and you can't do anything. In a pinch, you can even use it defensively, though that's not really option A. Here's your Volshock Splitter, by the way. You can think of another name for it. It's the 3 and a red for Mirrodin that gets +2/+0. Equip is 2 and a red.
I don't really like playing a 4-mana card with 2 toughness when it comes to just
again getting
impacting the board.
Slashed without. Bring the Ending. 1 and a blue, counter target spell unless the controller pays 2, and if you're corrupted, you just counter.
See, this is the kind of card that looked good on the spoiler, because there's some formats where this would have been really good, and also it kind of plays with the proliferate theme, if in blue black or blue green. Just turns out there's no deck that makes you want to play this card. If you end up in a blue black deck, and which will detail how you end up there, then this card is good in that deck. But you should never take a blue common early. There's just no reason to.
There is no reason.
I mean, you should try to avoid just taking blue commons entirely.
The best blue common is a Raptor.
Yeah, I think that's true. And it's a good card.
I cannot imagine a pack.
Or we'd first pick a Taxian Raptor.
Yeah. I mean, I can't, right?
Yeah.
And that's I'm only even talking about the commons. There's just, I can't imagine a pack where there's nothing I would take. And Bring the Ending's not even close. Oil Gorger Troll.
I do like the Troll a lot.
Yeah.
This is the 5 mana, 3/4, gain 3, and then if you have an oil counter on something, draw a card.
It's pretty good.
Great in red-green, and it's not that good in white-green. You should probably avoid it there. It's okay in black-green depending on where your deck ends up, because the black-green can be kind of control-ish. And then blue-green, just avoid at all costs. Part of the reason I don't love first picking green cards is there's just not as many directions to go.
Yeah. It leads you in potentially the best possible direction, which is red-green, but if you don't hit that, it falls off kind of quickly.
Well,
green-white's pretty good.
There's a lot of hidden gold cards in this set. I think that's actually really key to understanding this set.
Okay.
And Oil Gorger Troll is a red-green gold card.
Right.
When you look at Oil Gorger Troll, if you first pick this, you might think, well, it's mono-green, it can go in a couple different green decks. No, it can go in red-green. It can't really go in green-white.
Yeah.
Blue-green's unplayable. And black-green, I think, is not that far above the worst decks in the format.
Right.
So I look at this as a red-green card. So if I first picked Hex Gold Slash and second pick, I was like, oh, do I want to take an Oil Gorger Troll? That fits pretty nicely. But you shouldn't take that card without knowing that. Whereas something like Viral Spawning, that card's good in both white-green and red-green, so it's actually a lot more flexible.
Yeah, it's also tough because, if you literally did take a red-green gold card first.
Yeah, you took a Cinder Slash Ravager or something.
Right, you're looking at the highest upside, but you're also locking yourself into the most popular draft format.
Yeah.
Or draft archetype, so that's a risky.
And Oil Gorger Troll's not so powerful that I'm willing to go into that in that way.
Uncommons, Against All Odds. This is the 3 and a white sorcery. Choose one or both. Exile target artifact or creature you control, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control, and or return target artifact or creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield.
I like this a lot in white-blue.
Do you? Yeah, this card has so much potential, right? You can get a card out of it and get some value from a blink.
Yeah.
But I just never...
I trophied with a white-blue deck yesterday that had this card in it.
Okay.
Because I had Annex Sentry, the 3-mana 1/4 Banisher Priest type dude.
One of the best uncommons.
I had the Tamiyo's Immobilizer, which blinking it gets you those 4 counters again. I had 2 Veil of Assimilations. The whenever you play an artifact, give a creature +1/+1 vigilance. And 3 Mandible Guardians, or Justiciars rather.
Justiciars,
the 2-mana or 2/1 lifelink. So I would cast this, bring something back, trigger all my ETB stuff. I had a couple Chrome Prowlers.
That's pretty good.
It did enough stuff. I also had Elish Norn in the deck, and that was nice too.
That's not bad, yeah.
But yes, that is the home for it, was white-blue. I don't think... I've never put this card in white-green or white-black. I could see playing a white-red. I haven't had that come up because this does get you an extra 2/2 token off blinking one of your equipment. So I could see being white-red, but I just have never run into that.
So white-blue, yes. White-red, maybe. The rest, no.
Yeah.
1 copy?
Yeah, I don't think you're... Well, if you have the deck for it, I'd play 2. That's fine.
Furnace Punisher is next. This is the 2 and a red 3/3 menace. And at the beginning of each player's upkeep, Furnace Punisher deals 2 damage to that player unless they control 2 or more basic lands. Funny, I actually got dinged by my own Furnace Punisher. I'm like, what the heck?
Oh, your own?
Yeah. I didn't realize that
Did you play Spheres on turn 1 and 2?
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to say, I've gotten dinged by this a bunch when I play a sphere on turn 1 and they play this on turn 3 on the play. That's like the natural thing.
Yeah.
Doing it on your own is pretty nice.
Yeah. It hit me and I could not figure out what happened.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that it counted for me. So I had to figure that out. And then I thought, well, why did it hit me? And I looked at it and went, sphere, this thing. I'm like, that was back when I was playing like 4 spheres in decks.
Yeah.
I don't do that anymore. Last uncommon, it's a pretty good one. It's Armored Scrap Gorger. This is the 1 in a green 0/3, and it gets +3/+0. As long as it has 3 or more oil counters on it, it taps to add 1 mana of any color, and whenever it becomes tapped, you exile a card from a graveyard, and it gets an oil counter.
Fantastic card. Easily slam this. This is more like better in red-green than others, but you just play this in any green deck. It's just a great card. It's a 2 mana 0/3 that taps for any color, and then just becomes a 3/3 at some point.
It's really
also
good.
Because it's when it becomes tapped, you can attack with it when it has 2 counters. It'll get that last counter.
Yeah, as long as there's a card to eat.
Yes, it does need a target.
Our rare, these ones make me sad. It's Venser Corpse Puppet. This is the blue-black 1/3 lifelink toxic one. And whenever you proliferate, you choose 1. If you don't control a creature named the Hollow Sentinel, then you create a Hollow Sentinel, which is a legendary 3/3 colorless Phyrexian Golem artifact creature. Or target artifact creature you control gains flying and lifelink until end of turn.
So Venser is fantastic in the blue-black deck.
Yeah, I just have found blue-black to be like...
It's not great.
Terrible. So I'll tell you, by 17 lands, it's the basement. It's like 3 or 4% below the next one. It's like easily the worst.
No, I'm not arguing the blue-black isn't bad. I think there's opportunities to go into it.
Okay.
So certainly we'd take the Armored Scrap Gorger.
Okay, so you wouldn't
Not
take
even
it.
close.
Okay.
But I mean, if we want to jump into talking about that, we could do that.
Let's do that.
Because basically the way I look at it is, I'm not going to start by taking blue cards, because if you look at all the colors, blue is in the basement, like you said. It's the worst. Blue green, I think, is effectively undraftable. There's just no reason to draft blue green. It's just not a good deck. The proliferate stuff is not worth it. It doesn't have the infect proliferate thing is just not going to happen. Not efficient cards, really bad. The commons are terrible in blue. Blue-white is, I think, solid if you get all the cards, but a little on the fragile side. Mm-hmm. Blue-red, again, just really not where you want to be.
Basement.
And blue-black, kind of same. But let's say you started with a black removal spell, like the uncommon Drown or Necro or whatever, right? 1 in a black, sorcery, -4/-4, proliferate.
Yep.
Perfect card, right? Perfect card for blue-black. So let's say you first pick Drown, and then second pick, you get past like a Blue Sun's Twilight.
Yeah.
Right? Which could happen. I think people in the PT, I'm going to take Hex Gold Slash over that. Uh-huh. But let's say you get past that in like an otherwise weak pack. You can take that card, and then you get like a Voidwing Hybrid, the blue-black gold uncommon. All of a sudden, you're getting paid enough, I think, to go into black.
Okay.
Or into blue-black. But the thing is, you do need those high rarity cards, rares and uncommons. I'm not gonna go into it because I take 2 black cards and there's a Gitaxian Raptor. I'll take almost anything over that. But if there is a premium uncommon, you get a 4th pick Venser.
Yeah.
You get like I said, Blue Sun's Twilight, Venser. You get or the Dominus, the blue 2 3/5 flyer.
Yep.
Like these are cards that justify you being there.
Uh-huh.
But part of the reason the color is so weak is when it's not there at common, you don't get to draft it very often.
I see. That makes a lot of sense. Also, we're going to go over the archetypes, and you touched on it here, but, many of the colors, like, people tend to draft the Naya colors, right? Those are the good starting places. Those are the commons that get picked earlier. The natural resting place for the format to adjust to is away from blue-black. And that should be that you end up getting blue-black cards.
Well, the problem is it's not enough for blue to be open. You could tell me, all right, you're going to sit down in this draft, and no one 5 seats to your right is drafting blue. Do you want to draft blue?
Right.
And my answer will not be, oh, yeah. Because there's formats where, hey, the worst color is completely open. Do you want to be there? And I'd be like, yeah, of course.
So you're leaning on black?
You're leaning on high rarity cards, which is why.
So I guess what I'm saying is that if that's the case, there is a window there where if everybody else is scrapping it out for the Naya colors, that if those high rarity cards get opened, and you keep your eye out for them, you're going to get them.
There are some blue cards you want too, like the Experimental Augury, the 1 in a blue, Anticipate plus Proliferate, right? Gitaxian Raptor, like I said, it's a very good card. A 3-mana 1/4 that can alternate between 4/1 and 1/4 as you please.
Yeah, for no mana.
That's a lot of stats.
Yeah.
Like, you can end up in a spot where you're taking premium black cards or high rarity blue cards early and then late getting Glistener Seers and getting all the blue commons you could ever want. That's just not enough unless I get those rare high rarity cards first. Whereas in red green or green white, like you could start with all commons and still be pretty happy about it.
Yeah. Okay, so that's a good. Now for the pack that we picked, though, we still want the Scrap Gores.
Oh, not even close.
Yeah. Let's talk about the archetype since we're on that topic right now. So you started to touch on it, but we kind of have it broken down into 3 tiers.
Yeah.
Top tier, red-green.
Yep. Easily number 1.
Easily number 1. Black-white, which is the one that I've kind of leaned into. And then you also liked white-green enough to put it into that.
Yeah, I think white-green is good.
Yeah, it's been really solid, too.
White-green just has a good combination of efficient cards and low curve that work well together.
Yeah. And the black-white deck is the corrupted deck.
Yeah, I like it more as corrupted than infect.
I actually lean into the infect, but you do end up winning a percentage of games for either. So
yeah, I like building it to where when your main goal is to get them to 3 poison and then have all your cards become really good, more than trying to get them to 10 poison. Sometimes you do get them to 10 poison.
Yeah, because I actually do try to build it to get them to 10. Like I try to get them corrupted as quickly as possible to boost some of my cards. But what I found is there's not enough corrupted payoffs to just make it like, oh, all my cards are great now. There's a couple of absolute all-stars.
Mostly
the uncommons, just brutal, right? But it's not like tons of it's not like now my hand is turned on. Like it's maybe I have a card that gets a bonus or whatever. So what I've tried to do is surround those cards with things that give poison counters or proliferate, and it's not that hard. Like I'll play the draw 2 even in the chorus deck, right? That does it. Whispers of the Dross gets them a counter.
I mean, the way I look at it
Sacrifice one gets them a counter, and I even play the Scrap Trap.
Yeah. It is if you have an efficient enough curve, you get to afford to play things like 3 mana, draw 2, lose 2, because this format does have games that go to longer, turns and attrition and all that. But the price of entry is you have to have a good early curve.
You have to be out ahead.
Because look, I've definitely seen 2 red-green decks get to a board stall. Like that can happen.
Yes.
You play white-green against white-black. If you both play a bunch of early stuff, it can end up there. Though of course the 2/2 first strike when attacking card does
Duelist,
does lean against it. Toxic Duelist, is that right?
No. Duelist of Deep Faith, I think it's called.
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah. Does push it a little against that because it's so much better on offense than defense. But in general, if both players come out fast, this is not Amonkhet or Zendikar where it's 2 armies running past each other with exert or unblockable effects.
They will stabilize at some point.
It's just like you have, good blockers, they have good blockers, like you both just get on the board. And then that's where combat tricks become really
Absolutely.
important.
And that's kind of like when I draft the black-white deck, that's what I'm going for, right? I want a 1-drop with Toxic as often as possible. That's why I prioritize the Crawling Chorus and the Bilious guy. Those are fantastic. And then my goal is to get them to, say, 3 to 4 poison. And then I want to look at my hand, and I want 2 of those cards to say they get another poison counter. Like
you want the goal to be get up to 8 or whatever.
One. Right. And then I can put myself in range of like a Flencing Raptor will finish them. Or right. And they don't know that. I mean, they're playing out the game as normal, but people are scared of getting poisoned out.
I think a little too scared, actually.
There. Yeah, they'll just sit there, and I'm like, I have a 1/1, and they're like, well, I'm going to leave 2 blockers back for your Crawling Chorus.
There's 2 thresholds that matter with poison, 3 and 10.
Right.
I do try to fight to stop getting the third counter.
Because the third one, you should do whatever you can do, but once it's 3, it's like...
Well, it's actually 3 thresholds. There's 1, 3, and 10. Because if you can stop the first one, proliferate doesn't matter either.
That's true.
But what I find people do at too high a rate is when they're at 4 poison, they go through great lengths not to take 2 poison damage.
Yeah.
But you could just take 2 poison damage. Like,
yes.
You're not going to get burned out by proliferate from 6 to 10 very often.
No, that's
It can happen,
that's
but it's
hard. But not... 8 to 10, you're in trouble.
I guess the biggest difference is I want more Duelists of Deep Faiths and not 1/1 flying Infect 1 as much. I want to be able to kill them with damage.
I don't want the flyer. Give me that flyer.
I just think I'd rather have
I'd take as many of all of those as I can get, but yeah. Anyway, but to your point before, that's where the combat tricks really come in because people do block. They do try to prevent that 5th poison for some reason. And then you get a 2-for-1 with complete devotion, or you get the death touch one.
Even if you remove discount the places where your opponent shouldn't block, but they do, they're still good even in the places where they should block.
Yes.
Because they should block your attack when they are at 2 poison. They don't want to get the 3rd.
Right.
Like
and,
you
and
do
you're
have
forcing
provoke.
that issue too. Yeah. And then we mentioned white-green. So that's your top tier. Next tier, you have blue-black in there.
Yeah, it's on the bottom
under
end
the
of that.
condition, though, that you said, right, where you need to find these
there's a
rare...
really big asterisk. And this is drawing from the experience of me and my teammates testing for the Pro Tour, where if you get the good rares and good uncommons, like there is something there. It's not like I'm setting out to draft blue-black. In fact, I hope I don't. But you need to have that in your arsenal in case... Because some seats... again, I've used this example before, right? There's 10 color pairs. So at a baseline, you think you're about 10% to draft each one.
Yeah.
We can adjust those numbers now that we know the format. We know that you can adjust blue-green and blue-red to near 0.
Right.
And red-green, white-black up to 20% or whatever.
Right.
But I think blue-black is a 7%er, not a 0%er.
Right. And if you don't know how to draft it,
then you don't want to be in the situation where you open, a blue mythic and then get past a blue rare.
And just be like, well, I'm not playing blue.
Right, and you take 2 red-green commons over this, and the person to your right was taking red-green uncommons over those, and then you're screwed.
Yeah.
Whereas, because if you open the blue Dominus and get past, a Venser or the blue Sun's Twilight, you should be drafting those colors.
Yes, you should. Speaking of blue, also in this tier is white-blue. Now, that's a deck that's more supported.
Yeah, white-blue has some good stuff going on. If you get the good Mandible, Justiciar, Eye of Malcator, Veil of Assimilation, tons of artifact stuff, it can be very effective. Mm-hmm. My main concern with white-blue is it's bad on defense. If you're on the back foot, so that really is why Mandible, Justiciar is your most important card.
And it has to.
Because it effectively attacks and blocks by getting you 4 or 5 life when you hit. It's kind of bad against Toxic, but that's another thing. Yeah. The other thing with white-blue is if they Hexgold Slash or Whispers of the Dross, your Mandible Justiciar, sometimes you're just in a spot where your cards don't do that much.
Then you have anything left.
You have a bunch of spell bombs in your deck.
Yeah.
But white-blue, if it's open, you should draft it. It is a good deck if you get all the pieces.
What about white-red? Because that is 2 of the sort of core colors.
Yeah, it's 2 of the good colors.
Yeah.
My main problem with white-red is you're not getting much in the terms of synergy.
No. The Formiridan cards have proven to be just fine.
They're all fine.
Not a lot higher than that.
No, and they're not really that much greater than the sum of their parts.
Right.
If you draw 3 Formiridan equipment, yes, you could technically spend a bunch of mana to make something a battle cruiser, Bladegraph Aspirant, even the best, right? The 2/3 menace for 3.
Yeah.
But most of the time, you're just playing red-white cards at exactly the rate they say on the card, and red-green has some good synergies. White-black has tons of synergies. White-green has tons of synergies. That's why I have white-red a little lower. Though it is draftable, and if you get the War Whip, the uncommon red-white card, like most sets, the uncommons drive a lot.
They do. And the Bladehold War Whip is awesome. Last one here is red-black. Now, I don't believe I've drafted red-black yet. Maybe day 1 or something.
I've had a couple successful red-black decks, and...
Is it a sacrifice deck?
Kind of. You have Charforger, which is the only one that's the 2/3 that makes a 1/1.
Right, and picks up oil counters.
And then you have the Centurion, the 2 and a black 2/2 that you can sack a creature to give +2/+2.
Oh, sure.
Sack an artifact creature. You can only do it once a turn, but a 3-mana 4/4 is really good in this format if you have random crap to sacrifice to it.
Okay.
And things like Barb Batterfist, right, the 3/1 equipment, is really good because you can sack the equipment to make it a 4/4, and then you still have the 2/2 in play. You're not really down cards.
So anything that gets you 2...
Yeah, so the way I've ended up in this deck almost every time is red is open, red's the best color, and if you're in a good spot in a draft, at the end of pack 1, we've talked about this, right, where you have all one color. If you have 9 good red cards at the end of pack 1, often I'll have 7 to 9 good red cards, 1 green card, maybe 1 black card, or 1 white card, whatever. And then in pack 2, I just kind of see what is the best card of my second color to lead me towards that. And sometimes it's been black, where you end up with a couple of Charforgers, maybe a black removal spell, or maybe you get past an Archfiend of the Dross or something like Bomb.
Yeah.
And then you do have some synergies, the Testament Bearer, the 4/1 for 4 that you get to look at the top 3 cards and put one in your hand. You have Necrosquito. You have some kind of slow, clunky cards that give you advantage, which can be fine if you have enough cheap cards to go along with them. The 1/1 Death Touch Poison, Hexgold Slash, various 2 and 3 drops.
Are you taking the threaten? The uncommon?
I mean, if you have sacrifice stuff, but the thing is, I wouldn't think of red-black as a sacrifice deck.
Yeah.
It's more like a red oil deck that just happens to play 5 to 7 black cards.
Okay. So this is like a step up synergy-wise from the red-white deck, but still not up to the level of the synergies we see.
Look, when you have a Charforger and a Testament Bearer and you have like a Churning Reservoir going, like, yeah, you feel pretty good about all that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Charforger is a very powerful card.
It is. Okay. And then that brings us to the bottom tier, which is green-black, and then the two that we've mentioned a few times, blue-green and blue-red.
I think green-black can be okay. I'm not like averse to drafting it. My main problem is it's going the wrong way on the toxic stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas like
the late game.
You don't want. I think one of the worst places to be in the format, besides having islands in your deck, is playing 4-mana toxic creatures that die to Hexgold Slash and just aren't really getting the job done.
There's a few.
You're right. I think green-black, the what I've had the most success with in green-black is if those two colors are open and I have like a good rare that's a little on the slower side.
The uncommon, the Necrogen Rot Priest is awesome.
No, that card, the 1/5, yeah. But for the most part, I think green-black is kind of medium. Like, there's just not a good reason to be in there. And white-black has the more of the corrupted stuff and the smaller curve white creatures. White-green kind of the same. When you combine black-green, you're not that good at blocking and not that good at attacking if you're trying to do the toxic stuff, which just leaves, I have generic good green and black cards, which is okay. You can draft that, but it's just, like if you open a Glissa, I'll still take it, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It's a great card.
It's interesting because, we've seen a couple now, green-black being one of them, and then we talked about it in the prior one for red-white, where some of these decks don't have a lot of synergies built into them. Funny enough, it really is a litmus test for just how powerful the cards are, just how well they work together. I don't mean synergistically from how well they work together. I mean from like a set mechanic standpoint, but just like, is there a good curve of things? Because the red-green deck is the best deck in the format, and it's not really an oil deck. Like, you use the oil counters, but it's just the individual card with its individual oil counter that you remove for the effect. It's not like you're playing a bunch of oil support cards in your deck or whatever. It's like, this one has haste. I'll remove an oil and give it haste, and like, it's just a bunch of power, toughness, and haste just getting thrown at you.
Yeah, it's efficient removal. Fight cards are good because you have beef on both red and green.
Right.
And like, you have a good curve, and that just is a good, simple deck.
Right, where you look at green-black, and there's not much in the way of synergy, but there's also like the curve doesn't line up the same, and like those colors don't complement each other in the same way, so it just fails. Now, we've mentioned blue-green and blue-red. Sad.
Blue-red is a little better.
I actually don't even know what blue-green was supposed to be doing. I know at least what blue-red was supposed to. It just can't do it.
Blue-green was supposed to do Infect plus Proliferate.
Okay.
Like, look at the uncommon, right? The 2/3, the Toxic Watcher or whatever. Mm-hmm. I've ended up in blue-red a few times where, again, it's kind of like black-red. Red's clearly open. You're getting the lion's share of red cards, and then you decide to play a Spellgorger Chimera or Ovika, the 5 blue-red 6/6 flying ward 3 pay 3 life.
Uh-huh.
And it's basically, I'm playing red and I'm going to play 5 to 7 cards of a second color, and I've gotten past some good blue cards. But yeah, in blue-green, I honestly I've never seen a good blue-green deck.
Yeah.
I can't really fathom what it would take to draft blue-green.
I mean, it just sucks because like whenever you see somebody on the other side play those, you're just like, I can't even get the power level up. Like you said, blue-black misses the mark in similar way, but has that high end that you can grab the really good cards. Blue-green doesn't even give you that.
Voidwave Hybrid is a really messed up card.
Yeah.
Like if you like, you can get 2 to 3 of those in some drafts, and it's just like your deck seems awesome.
Yeah.
Blue-green just doesn't have that.
No, and blue-red to me is the saddest.
Yeah.
Because like, we both love the Chimera, right? We talked about it after did the set review with BK. It's such a cool, like, it's core to this set, right? It's oil counters, right? That's something that they really wanted to push for this thing. And you can't. Like, you just cannot fluff around with this blue-red deck and try to get your value and try to do your stuff, even with, like, a super powerful uncommon like the Chimera.
Yeah.
It's really sad because this, to me, is the biggest casualty of the speed of the format.
Yeah, and I think
is blue-red.
So where I'm at on the format itself, like, it's okay. I don't think it's a disaster. It's not going to go down as one of my favorite formats. I would say it's below average. It's draftable. Like, I've done a lot of drafts, and obviously I'm preparing for the Pro Tour, so I'm going to do a lot of drafts. But I'm having fun doing the drafts. Like, there is enough level of interaction that the format's not a complete loss.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like the formats where there's just no interaction and are fast, I think are the worst.
Yeah.
But this format is really fast, and a lot of the color pairs aren't draftable, and a lot of the themes don't work. Proliferate, I think, basically doesn't work.
It kind of doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
You get like one...
Yeah.
You know, because in the old ones, there used to be, and I don't know if people recognize this, but when sets had Proliferate, it was really common for +1/+1 counters and -1/-1 counters to be things that you would see on the board, cards that would get that ball rolling, then you'd proliferate and build up your army or shrink theirs. And they made a conscious decision not to have those in
because
this set.
of the oil counters.
Yeah, and that's fine. I didn't have any issue with that.
You could make that decision.
Yeah, but it did mean that you needed the format to have more time to kind of blossom. You needed to get into turn 3, turn 4, turn 5, where people weren't under immediate stress. And then you could maybe set a situation up where you proliferate and have 3 things with oil counters and start to actually do some fun stuff. But here, like, if you proliferate and get one thing, you're like, sure, I'll take an extra oil counter, or I'll give you another poison.
And they even figured out a way to do +1/+1 counters. They have a bunch of creatures that get +1/+1 for each oil counter.
For each oil, yeah.
If they had done more of those, maybe that would have worked out a little better.
There's some good ones. The flying uncommon, it can get big, but it's just too slow to start. Too small. Let's talk about the speed of the format, because, so my friend Jay, he drafts quite a bit, but, he also has he's not he doesn't make content for Magic or whatever. So he's a good litmus test for me for, kind of what the format's up to, what he thinks of it. And we were texting about it. He told me 2 things. One, he said he thinks he's kind of done with it. Not angry about it, but just he would prefer, and I would too, frankly, to let these mechanics breathe a little bit. This trend towards 1-drops being really important and people being on the board and the formats kind of feeling like they're getting a little faster does push out some interesting gameplay. Some of the mechanics don't get a chance to really blossom. They get kind of squashed by people's life totals plummeting. So there's that. And then also he sent me a graph, and just now before we went on, I went and refreshed it too, just for the latest data about the speed of the format, and it was wow. And Sirkovitz was tweeting about this too. So there's a graph you can pull up on 17 lands. So this is arena only. And on the left axis, the up and down, is average number of turns that it takes to finish a game for a given format. And then the x-axis, so the one on the bottom, is the advantage that you get by being on the play versus being on the draw. And so these are similar, these are related things. But I put all of the regular formats that have been on Arena tracked by 17 lands on here. So no cube, none of the alchemy sets or whatever. Yeah. Right, but all the regular stuff. And one is a true outlier. One meaning Phyrexia. So I filtered it for both traditional draft and premier. And so I can see both. And so average number of turns, if I had to just eyeball the average of the grouping that we see here, it's about 9.3 or 9.4 would be kind of your middle ground. And the fastest format that we had of the regular ones before that was 8.8, and there's 3 of them there, M21, and they're kind of overlap, so I can't really see, but a couple of others.
Streets of New Capenna, maybe.
Maybe so. What's the wolf one? What's the one with the wolf?
One of the Innistrad ones, probably.
Yeah. And then there's gap down to Phyrexia all will be 1 at 8.4 and 8.2. So
I assumed that Premier drafts the 8.2.
Right. And these are
go hand smoother.
Yeah, exactly. And so we're talking about effectively a full turn faster than your average format, and over half a turn faster than what we previously had as our fastest possible. That's huge. That's a big change. That's not a little bump. That is wow.
A good amount of those games are ending faster than that too.
Right, totally. And then when it comes to play draw, there is one format that was more play draw dependent. I think it was a
alchemy set.
Yeah, maybe it's like a star. I don't know. And that was 54%. But beyond that, this one is in line. This is the fastest, the second fastest at just over 53%.
So if you're on the play, you're 53% to win starting out.
Earlier in the format, it was 56, which was not okay. But it has settled down to a little bit above 53.
53 is okay. For context, when I've worked on similar games and we looked at play draw, obviously you'd like 50-50. That would be ideal.
Yeah.
You're generally not going to get that. I mean, you can't.
There's only been 2 sets that have had 50-50 according to this.
Yeah, what are those sets?
Man, I can't remember here, you can look. Maybe you remember the names. It's this one and this one.
I think one of those might be Dominaria. No, I can't even tell.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the stupid set things, and I always forget what the symbols are.
In any case, 53 is not, we've got a problem. Not that they can really do anything about it, but 54, 55 starts to becoming problematic. Above 55 is kind of disastrous, actually.
Okay.
And if you look at constructed formats, they're closer to, at one point Modern, I think, was 56 or something, or 57.
That's brutal.
But
I would say average looks like it's about 51.5.
Yeah, that's perfect. I mean,
which is kind of where you want to be.
You can't realistically get to 50-50 very easily. But I think for limited, if you're in the 51, 52 range, you're not doing too bad. 53 is not ideal, but it's not out of the complete bounds.
So that part seems to have gotten itself a bit under control. But the speed of the format, man, look, it's interesting because there's personal preference involved. Right? You might just like a slower format, whatever. Because, I mean, the slower formats, by the way, are up at 9.8, 9.9. And there's a grouping of them. Strixhaven, there's a whole bunch up there. And this one's 8.2. I mean, we're talking now 2 turns. That's a monumental gap over time. But I think the biggest casualty of a format being this fast are the interesting archetypes and the interesting... The things that take a little bit more time to get going just can't. And so it just squeezes everything out and becomes all crawling courses and, hasty 3-3s or whatever.
I think I'm a little less, I have a little less of a preference when it comes to speed of a format. Because, again, for me, is there good interaction?
Yeah.
Brothers War was a fast format, too. And I liked it a lot. Is there good interaction is a big part of it. And what do the mechanics work is another part of it. And to your point, putting a mechanic like Proliferate in a really fast format, that's not going to work that well. You're not going to get to see that thing happen. Or spells matter, right? Where you just can't afford to be casting a lot of impulses that proliferate.
Yeah,
that's just not
cycling your skull bombs or whatever.
Right. That's just not the way things go. On balance, I'd rather have a slightly slower format. In the middle is probably better. But for me, is there interaction? Do the mechanics work? There is interaction in this set. I actually think that this set's pretty reasonable on that. But do the mechanics work? I wouldn't give it a very good grade on that. I don't think the mechanics really work out that well.
No, and I mean, I think that there's a visceral feeling too when you sit down and you feel that if you haven't affected the board in some meaningful way, twice by turn 3, that you could just get ran over and it could just be GG.
Yeah, and also the play draw thing where combat tricks are so much better on the play.
Right.
You're the one who's tapped out and getting attacked. If you just take it, they're just going to play another creature, and then you're going to be in the same position next turn. Yeah, and it feels like those things all kind of compound on each other. I think that there is just a feeling. I agree. I mean, I adjust, right? I'm taking crawling courses. That's easily my most drafted card. I'm fine with that. I do think it does affect the longevity, though. That does get old quicker than when you're kind of hey, I haven't tried the blue-red deck. Let's see if I can make that work, and feel like you're not being silly. I mean, there's multiple things going on here. They kind of are all connected, right? Part of the mechanics not working is the color pairs not working. Right. And one of the things I don't like is when I sit down and there's not as many decks to draft. That's not the whole story. These things are complex. Right. I liked Strixhaven a lot. And you were a fan of Strixhaven? Big fan. Strixhaven did not have very many different decks you could draft. Right. Yeah. you could draft I feel a little guilty saying that because the color combinations that were good in there were ones that I really liked. But that's fine. You get to have Teamer and White-Black were all great. Yeah. Red-White was kind of medium. Yeah. And Green-Black, had potential, but it was kind of medium too. That's not that many decks, but it turns out if the gameplay's good, then you're going to be pretty happy with it, and the gameplay was good. Do you think it's good here? I think it's just okay. Just okay. This one's coming up a little in the middle. I really want to make it clear. I don't think this is the worst format of all time. I'm not one of the people who are this format sucks, I'm off it. I'm still going to draft it after the PT. I'm enjoying playing it, and there's decks I want to kind of spend more time with. But I do think that there's not the draft portion doesn't have as many different avenues to explore as I would like, and the games are a little more kind of linear than I would like in terms of like what's going on in the games. So yeah, it's not going to get an all-time great record, score, but it's okay.
Do you think there's room for the format to adjust? Because it is early-ish still, and sometimes
it's been 9 days. That's like a lifetime.
Sometimes we do see though, like there's been times where, remember, you and I jumped all over like the blue-black deck in that one format, and eventually it felt like this could just run away with it.
Oh, I got number 1 Mythic in Midnight Hunt by forcing blue-black 15 times in a row.
Yeah, you were organ hoarding like a madman. But remember, that format did even out to a point. It was still the best deck, but it wasn't the only show in town.
And then there was like Streets of New Capenna where people just drafted Bant the whole format.
The whole entire time. And, this feels like it's not as archetype driven, but it is. I just wonder, like, we've been talking about how Naya colors tend to be the most, like, is there a world where blue-black becomes something that you do regularly?
I just don't think so.
Yeah. I don't have that feeling either.
Like when things are driven by high-value rares and uncommons, that puts a limit on how often they can show up.
Yeah.
My point is that blue-black is draftable when you have premium cards,
exactly.
not that you should draft it like a lot more than you are now.
No. All right, one more topic I want to talk about before we call it a show here, Luis, is your prep for the PT.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of things. One, I just want to get your take on preparing for a PT and how it goes. But also, you and I had a chat before about how you've been doing almost all of your online testing on MTGO versus Arena.
Well, I mean, I think that shows you what kind of space the PT occupies for me, which is the vast majority of sets I play all on Arena. It's a more pleasant experience. I think you'd have to be crazy not to say that.
Yeah, you stream on Arena, you play on your phone, you play your Arena Opens.
Yeah, but for this one I did, I think I finished one Arena draft and I drafted my second deck and I haven't played it because Magic Online I think is a much more accurate representation of the Pro Tour. Because at this point, if you're drafting on Magic Online, if you're choosing to use Magic Online over Arena, it means A, you've been playing Magic for a million years, you just don't want to switch.
Yep.
Or B, you really care about preparing for a tournament or just having a high competition level. Like when I play on Magic Online, I recognize like half the people I play against, either because they're PT regulars or they're people I know or whatever. And I think that the competition level is a lot closer to what I'd find at the PT, And
okay.
I mean, you can even look at that
to traditional draft on Arena, or
I really haven't been a fan of traditional draft on Arena, and people may differ, but the ranking up system that is present in Premier Draft is really motivational to people. Motivational to me too. It's right. I mean, you like seeing the number go up, right? That's fun. Most of I have found that once you get to Mythic, the competition level on Arena is better in Mythic Premier Draft than it is playing traditional draft.
Okay.
I found
feel
drastically mixed levels of competition in traditional draft, where sometimes you just play against people who just join this draft instead of the other one and don't really know what's going on.
And I assume you would never use best of one for serious testing because of hand smoothing and because of you've been teasing Paul and I. We'll put some of our deck lists. We've been mostly playing Premier, and the reason, by the way, that I do it
mostly, entirely.
I think so. I don't think I played any Moto. Is for speed, right? Like I want to get as many decks drafted as possible. That's kind of my main thing, to be able to get as many cards played and get a feel for how they actually play out and stuff. But that obviously isn't the same thing as what you're going for, where you want to have
every
the
time you guys
quality.
draft, you have 32 playables.
Well, yeah, and we'll send you, and you'll always give us crap about it. But what do you mean by that? Like that doesn't happen on MTGO, and it's because the players are just better?
Yeah, I mean, they are. Yeah. It's because you're opting into, I think, a much less smooth / pleasing interface and experience, and it takes longer. It takes longer to get paired. It takes longer for the drafts to fill. Like every basically step is worse, which means you have to have a really good reason to want to do that. And for most people, it's they want to play against the highest competition level. And look, this is not to say there's no good players on Arena. I play almost exclusively Arena. Right. Like I'm not bagging on Arena.
Bashing Arena. No.
I want, and it's also like I want the experience of sitting down with 8 people and playing that best of 3 draft at a higher rate than I do.
Are you playing in pod? Like, do they have in pod still on?
Yeah, you can do pod drafts.
But you're not doing that.
I've been mostly doing leagues
because you do need to get some.
I do need to actually
repetitions
get some reps in. Yeah. But I just have found there's a pretty big difference there. That said, for whatever the next set is, if there's not a Pro Tour for it, I'll probably go back to playing on Arena. And I will, when I get home after the PT, I'm just going to go back to playing on Arena as well.
And what about your PT testing? Like, you did most of this on your own on Magic Online. Was there a team aspect? Have you guys grouped together your information?
Team Channel Fireball plus, friends, like, I don't know, teams that have gotten a little more amorphous at this point. Awesome group of guys, like really, really happy to get to test with them. We've got like Martin Juza and Reed and Gavin Nassif, Sigrist, and a ton of other people. Jim Davis, Ely Cassis.
Wow, that's a banger team.
Brent Voss, who was on our online team, he came up with that Sultai Ultimatum deck. You remember that we played that one week in the leagues?
Yeah.
Like, Brent's awesome to test with. Yakub Toth, Flashjack on Twitter. He's like Noah Ma, like a lot of folks. Sam Pardee on the team. A lot of these guys got an Airbnb here in Philly like a week ago, and they've been doing house drafts. I've been really jealous of that, but I didn't fly out till yesterday.
Did you get to go over
I got to go to the house. It was the same. Oh, man, it was the same as it always was. Like, tons of people there, all these pizza boxes and water bottles everywhere.
Such nostalgia.
And we spent
basketball shorts as far as the eye can see.
We spent hours debating over like the 15th sideboard cards. Like that, I was just loving it. Right,
this is a dream.
This is what I wanted to do, but. Those guys did a bunch of in-house testing with paper cards. Like, they would do 8-player drafts of all people, obviously going to the PT and all that.
Do you think that's the best?
That's the best, yeah.
Okay, because you got really high-quality players.
All high-quality, motivated players.
Exactly what it's going to be like.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I got to, of course, get the
because it is slow.
It is. It's a lot of time.
Yeah.
But I got to get the fruits of that by seeing what their results were and talking to them. And
you inputted what you found,
I drafted a lot. I actually have something to add here.
Yeah.
And I mean, we kind of just went through it, but basically it's a super fast format. You've got to have tons of cards that cost 1 or 2 mana. And a lot of cards, like I said, this is important, are gold cards. Pestilent Stinger, right? The 1 mana or 2 mana, 1/1 flying, poison 1.
Siphoner,
Yeah, or Siphoner. That's like a white-black card.
Right.
Don't put that in your red-black deck.
That's right.
You can't actually
put my card.
You can't actually put it in black-blue if you're the poison, kind of all-in proliferate poison deck in blue-black, but I haven't even found that deck to be good. Much like Oil Gorger Troll is a red-green card and Mandible Justiciar is a blue-white card, drafting enough so that you know which of these cards are secret gold cards is really important. Because, Hex Gold Slash is obviously good in any red deck. That's not really a gold card. But something like Kuldotha Cackler, the 2/3 trample that gets +X+O, that's pretty close to a red-green card. Like, you're not going to play that in the other red combinations all that often. Like red-white, it's not going to play that card.
And so you guys went through and recognized each of the cards that are a little more narrow than they may seem.
Yeah, and then tried to figure out like stuff like black-green kind of sucks because your 3 and 4 drops die to Hex Gold Slash is like a pretty big deal.
Is there any good fights? Like anybody that disagrees, no, you can't draft this color pair.
No, I don't think so. This format's not that complicated. To be honest.
It's not.
I wish
we just went over it in like an hour.
I wish there was more to discover. But there's stuff that you want to know. Like Churning Reservoir, for example, is a fantastic card.
Which one's that?
The red 1-drop artifact that puts an oil counter every turn and 2-tap make a goblin if one of your oil counters got removed or something died. Like that and Incubation Sac. Like, it's funny because those cards look like they're slow cards, and they kind of are, but they're really good in the games where things stall out.
Yeah.
And like also 3/3s and 1/1s are actually pretty good on the board.
Yeah.
Like when you make a beast with Incubation Sac twice on turns 4 and 5, like you don't feel that bad about how your board presence is.
No, especially when everybody's on the ground trying to beat each other down, like, cheap flyers.
And just like knowing what all the combat tricks do and when to walk into them, when to not. Like, so I feel pretty good about the draft portion. I feel pretty good about our prep. I've done a lot of Moto drafts. I think I have like 9 trophies now.
On Moto?
On Moto.
Oh, yeah, that's a lot.
And also, my trophy rate wasn't that good in the beginning, so I think I've done a lot of drafts. I think I've probably done in the 40 range.
You're grinding, yeah.
But I don't know. I'm excited to play these cards in paper. I guess I got to buy some dice or something. I probably shouldn't show up.
No, you cannot start showing up with pen and paper now.
No,
like, you've got a whole career.
It's too late.
Of, hey, can I borrow your whatever? Like, it's just part of your brand at this point. Just want to get your take on like the emotional side of it. Like, you stoked? Are you nervous?
Excited. So it's funny, the sign off I did a couple weeks ago, where I talked about like the opening of the PT. Someone on Twitter, Manga Comic Books, made a manga out of it, like a cartoon out of it, and it was really good. They did a really good job capturing what I was trying to express. And look, this is people are going to be hearing this after the PT's already started. At this point, I don't know what the tournament itself is going to look like. I haven't been to the site. I haven't played in the tournament. This right now feels exactly like the old PTs. I went to a testing house. All my friends are here. I'm here with you doing
we're in the hotel room
live
doing
LR. We're going to see Cheon in not that long. We're going to stop by Reading Terminal Market, and like all that stuff sounds the same. We'll see what the tournament is like, but right now I'm feeling it. I'm feeling the vibe, and I'm really excited about it. And look, hand over my heart, I don't need this to be exactly like the old PTs, because I know that's not really going to happen. Mm-hmm. But if this is like, I think I said 60% when I did the sign off, I still kind of feel that way. If the tournament feels 60% as good as they do, I'm still in. I'm still in for all this.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to be early. Well, not that early actually, but we're going to start tomorrow morning with the first draft of the PT. And then we're going to be right into the flow, and we're going to see how it goes. Good luck, Luis. I hope you do well at it. It would be really cool if we see some of the old school names that have kind of, haven't been around quite as much during the arena era come back. Oh, yeah,
that's going to be a big shift, because over the last 2 years of competition, you have a mix of the people the old school players who did well on the arena tournaments, right? You have Sam Party won one of the pro tours.
Yep.
Michael Sigrist and Gab Nassif and myself, we did well, like enough. We played in all these tournaments. I mean, Nassif both top 8 or one, for example. And so the kind of newer crowd, the Zoomers, even though like they're still actually even a little older than that, but the Zoomers, as we'll call them, the online crew, they know who they played against us. They know kind of where we're at, right? Like Paulo's played in all these,
right?
But then you also have people like Paul Rietzel. They might not even know who that is.
Totally,
and
he's here.
They're in for and they're in for a bit of a rude awakening if they play against Paul Rietzel. They're like, I think I've heard of this guy. Is he any good? And Rietzel might be like still. I bet is still one of the maybe top 5 people for draft.
He's god-tier drafter.
Yeah, well, he did a ton of drafts and did a write-up for our team because we're buddies with him, and it's like, he nailed everything.
And he's such an unassuming guy. Hey, how are you?
Rietzel is a funny mix of like really modest and humble, but also not.
But he knows.
he likes claiming he's worse than he is.
Yes, he does.
It's his favorite move.
And he also likes bumping up his friends.
He's a great
Sperling,
guy.
He's one of the best, CEDH players ever or whatever.
That is Sperling's jam at this point.
But in any rate, you watch Rietzel play and you're like, holy crap.
But they are good. I think that I'm excited to see how the newer generation does when paired against the older generation, because it could be that they're all better now. It could be that they're the ones who their noses are to the grindstone. They've been living, breathing, Magic for like the last couple of years, where some of the older folks haven't been doing that because there haven't been tournaments that they cared about.
Right.
But now we got to see, like, this is a classic battle. Does the old dog who's got 15 years of tricks under their belt beat the hungrier younger person? And I don't know how it's going to turn out. My money's on the old guard, but we'll see. We'll see.
There could definitely be some forgot about Dre happening here this weekend. All right. Well, hopefully you'll get a chance to watch as well. It'll be on the Magic Twitch channel starting on Friday. And you can watch drafts on both Friday morning and Saturday morning. Of course, you can also watch the replay. They'll also put these ones up on YouTube if you can't catch it live. So hopefully you'll be able to see. And then if you're into Constructed, they're going to be playing Pioneer as well. And this is really the first time that Pioneer's been exposed to the professional player machine. I know there was a Players Championship, but like everything got banned out of that. Right?
Well, there was the Pro Tour in Phoenix that Huey top 8'd, like he made the finals of.
Yeah, but that was the one where like nothing's legal from that.
No, it's all, like Inverter got banned. Everything else is about the same though.
Oh, really?
Lotus Field is still good. Spirit's still good.
Oh, yeah, he actually played that, didn't he?
Yeah, he played Lotus Field.
Okay, well,
but that was like pre-pandemic. Everyone's memories got wiped.
Yeah. Anyway, so this will be the first and a half time that it's really been exposed on this level. So we'll see how it goes, but hopefully you can join us as well. If you want to find us on social media, I'm Marshall_LR and Luis is LSV. Pretty much everywhere you can find everything related to the podcast at lrcast.com. And we want to thank TCG Player and Channel Fireball for supporting the show as well. Make sure you check them out again. I put those links in the show notes. That's going to do it for this one. We'll see you next week.
All right, Marshall, since coverage is back too, like the players aren't the only ones who are back in the saddle, so is coverage. I wanted to kind of give viewers a taste of my favorite ways to interact with coverage while at the tournament.
Oh, good.
So you can start out with the basics, the easy one, which is I start most of my features matches by playing lands in front, which you don't notice until I play my first permanent, at which point invariably the spotter has to come up and be like, can you put the permanent in front of the lands?
Yeah, because I say that and they hear it and then they go.
So you ask, why did I do this? And the answer is, I like restrictions breed creativity.
Oh my God.
And when I'm sitting there in the feature match, the camera's like straight down. You can't really see me, but you can see my cards and...
restrictions breed, that's why you do this?
And there's a lot of ways to transmit humor in that. And you might wonder, why are you thinking about this instead of playing your match? And the answer is I can just do both.
Very few people have the bandwidth to do complete nonsense and also play well. You are one of them.
So I like putting lands in front until I get told not to, which unfortunately that doesn't last too long. I've also enjoyed, like when I did one of the drafts that you were actually calling, I opened a foil Desolation Twin, and it's like the 10 mana 10/10 that makes a copy, and I like put it to the front and pretended like I was going to take it, and you and Randy were doing the draft, and Randy's like, oh wow, is he actually considering the Desolation Twin? And you were like, no Randy, he's not, he's just messing with us. And then of course I took some common or whatever.
You took some 3-drop.
Like a Saddleback Lagak.
Yeah.
So that's fun. When I played against Paul Cheon, actually, who's now a member of coverage, we had a legendary match. We had a feature match. This was limited, and the whole match I was like activating my creature land at end of his turn, tapping out, and he's like, okay.
Yeah.
He had like an Akum Stone Shaper. It's like a 2/1 that whenever you play a land, you can pay 3 mana and make a 3/1. He also had an Invoker, which is pay 8, deal 3 to any target. He plays his 8th land, and I try to hand him a 3/1 elemental token, and he just like waves it off, because obviously he's going to spend 8 to deal 3. He's not going to make a 3/1.
You were helping him.
Yeah, I was helping him, and all that stuff is just I think adds to the whole flavor of what's going on. I will say that when I play against someone like Cheon or someone, like Matt Nasser, one of my good friends, I'm more prone to do that. I wouldn't actually do that against someone I don't know, because I don't want to make them have a bad time. Right. I don't want to intimidate them or screw with them.
They're already intimidated sitting down. Right. I mean, let's be real.
My friends can take it though.
Yes,
they're priced into this. They've opted in.
Yeah.
One of my favorites was, I don't know if you remember, there was a bit of a controversy where someone played Pithing Needle on Borborygmos.
Mm-hmm.
But they named Borborygmos, and there's 2 cards.
There's Enraged.
There's Borborygmos and Borborygmos Enraged, and they named the wrong one, but even though it was a partial name, that is the full name of a card, and it stood. It was like an SCG or something. And they lost because of it, and there was like this whole thing, right, where they're like, obviously I meant the one that people play, and they're like, you just said the full name of a card. That's kind of on you, right?
Yeah.
So at the Eldrazi PT, when I was playing against Yuya, I played a Pithing Needle, and I named Gristlebrand Enraged. Even there's only just Gristlebrand. But I knew because the spotter had to tell you guys in the booth what I named. And you had to say on cover that I named Gristlebrand Enraged. You're like, wait, that doesn't make
That's not even a card.
Yeah. So those are the kinds of things that I feel like I got to keep you on your toes. Coverage is just such an easy gig.
Oh yeah, we're just sleepwalking through the whole event anyway.
If I don't give you guys something to chew on, then.
God.
And this, of course, leads into one of my all-time moments, which I was actually in the booth for. Well, actually, the same PT as a lot of these. This was me and you in the finals, along with probably BDM. I don't remember if he was there at this point.
I don't know which one you're talking about.
It was when JC Tao played against Yvonne Flock in the finals. They were both playing Eldrazi. And Yvonne played Cavern of Souls, and I explained that he was going to name Ape because of Simeon's Spirit Guide in the colorless deck, and that's actually what he did.
And then he did, yeah. I do remember that. And I thought you were trolling me.
Yeah, well, I should actually take the time to explain before we go the whole Ape thing, because some people were asking after our last episode. This is back in 2013, Grand Prix Anaheim. Marshall's doing coverage with Nate Price, who actually now works at Wizards.
Yep.
And this is like one of the first times you did coverage. This is the year coverage started.
This was early.
And you guys were talking. You were having a good time. And one of the guys we actually know from LA, James Gates and Greg Hatch, they were talking. They tweeted like, why are these guys in the booth that a trained ape could do a better job?
Yeah, it's a couple of trained apes in the booth.
and
we laughed. Like, we thought it was funny.
No, I mean, this was before people got really mad during coverage, so it would be probably less funny a few years from there, but I definitely take the joke and ran with it, and we
oh my God, you ran with it for years.
I'm still not done.
Still not done.
So we got that. But yeah, it's good to be back, and let's let's hope this weekend goes well.